So it's the long overdue part 2 for birds in flight. And last time I photographed larger birds of prey with the Z6II and a 70-2 under 2.8. Now I'm adding a little disclaimer here because I want everybody to get the correct understanding of what this video is all about. It's an autofocus test. Oftentimes people are saying the Z6II can't photograph small birds in flight. So this is not to show the best barn swallow images there are. And I was using a 200 to 500 zoom lens, which is not the fastest focusing. I only had about 30 minutes, and barn swallows are amazing when it comes to acrobatics and chasing bugs. So I used pretty much the same camera settings as I did the last time. Again, the Z6II, I was using manual exposures you're going to see here to keep the exposures consistent, to be able to freeze the birds in flight if possible. Auto ISO, again, to compensate for the changing lighting conditions. It was sunset, it was dusk. Auto area wide and autofocus area auto was the two test examples. Continuous high extended, and VR set to sport because I was hand holding the lens. So again, this is an autofocus test just to demonstrate what we can do. So here's an example shot, and again, this is a screen capture, so don't expect this to be perfectly crisp. You'll see the photo in a minute, but using wide area large. And this is a 1:1, or rather this is a full frame image of the barn swallows, the full picture. Here's 1:1 pixel for pixel. And then as a 200%. So this is a 200% zoom in. And so it's resolution that is kind of letting me down. These birds are so tiny, you know, wingspan of about 12 inches. Here again is 100% pixel for pixel on your screen and 200%. But you can see that the autofocus area is actually capturing the birds in autofocus area wide, large. And so I'm just going to keep going through a number of things. Here's auto area, so the camera's doing this selection. It's against the sky. The birds were picked up easily. There's again a zooming in, full image, 100% pixel for pixel, and then 200%. Again, auto area, the camera picked up the bird. I didn't give you a screenshot of the software, but just so you get the idea of what's going on here. Again, autofocus, auto area, camera doing the selections again. Same thing. The bird's all over the place. It's off to the edge. And again, there's 200%, giving you an idea of what the camera's autofocus is capable of doing in auto area. So there's the bird. Again, 100% and a 200% zoom in. So you can see again, I don't have the resolution at 24 megapixel. Now this is important to understand the field of view and the depth of field that we're working with. The 500 millimeter at f5.6, its field of view is really about 4 degrees. That's really narrow. And you're getting an area of about 2 meters, 6 feet wide, and about 4 feet high, or 1.25 meter high. So you're shooting through a very narrow area, trying to keep this bird in your viewfinder. It's not easy. From what I can estimate, the birds were about 85 feet away. They just didn't want to come close. And so the depth of field is about 3 feet or 1 meter. So that just helps us to get helps you get a better idea of what you're working with. Just how I calculated it, that's about 12 inches, 30 centimeters for the wingspan. And you can see as these arrows go across to demonstrate that we're dealing with about a 6 foot or 2 meter wide area that you're able to keep sort of as your area of working with the birds. And these guys, remember, are dodging left and right and up and down and turning on a dime. Love them. They're amazing to photograph when you can photograph them, but getting them close, that is a challenge. They do not want to come close. They're hunting. Here's a few more images. Just going through, you can see this is autofocus, auto area, and it's picking up the birds. It's sensitive to their motion. There's a pixel for pixel, 100%, and there's 200%. So all these claims of, my Z6II has back focus and front focus and this focus and that focus, I don't know what to say. I don't have a special camera, as I've said before. This is technique. It's understanding the camera. And I don't claim to be some super expert on a Z6II. I'm just using photographic rules. And the birds are tiny. So just working through a bunch more images. So if you have a lack of confidence in your camera, you feel it isn't able to focus, it's not the camera. It's not even the lens combination that I was using. There's better lenses to use with a Z6II. Again, here's autofocus tests using wide area large. The bird that was in the box, that is literally the focus box on the Nikon Z6II. There's the full image. And again, going 100% pixel for pixel. And a 200% will follow in a second here. There we go. So I again feel resolution in this case because these birds are so small, they didn't come close. The resolution is kind of what's letting me down. Maybe 45 megapixels would have made a difference. I don't know. Hard to say. And I'm not bashing or saying no one needs a Z8 or a Z9. I think the addition with the AI in the autofocus system is probably amazing, but it's not absolutely necessary. A lot of this is going to be technique because I'm doing this in 30 minutes. And so if I can do this, I think anybody else can too. Again, autofocus, auto area, grab the bird, didn't jump to the background. You're going to see there's actually a bug. You can see the tiny little bug that this swallow is chasing. Again, bird's off to the far left-hand side of the frame. The autofocus, auto area picked him up again, or her up, depending. Again, up near the top of the frame, autofocus, auto area. So there again, 200%. Now, autofocus, auto area didn't pick up the closest bird there. It picked up the ones in the background. There's one with a sort of a confusing background. The bird got picked up each time. There we go at 100% or 1-to-1. There's wide area large again. There's the full image, 100%. Again, there is still wide area large, wide area large, wide area large again. I would suggest if you're going to do birds in flight, wide area large, and trying to keep the frame around that focus bracket frame area over the bird. That's going to be the challenge. So finally, a swallow came by, really close by, and I was able to capture this image with wide area large. Now, just to get a little bit of a reality check, I went online and I actually did a little bit of research first and found someone who was photographing swallows. And he had a whole setup and what he did and acquisition times, and it was really helpful. But again, I only had half an hour. I know what to do the next time. And he was shooting with a Sony A1. And really interesting to look at. 3 days of shooting, 16,000 images, culled down to 400. There's reality. So, this whole keeper rate thing that everybody talks about, let's be realistic. Now, just some conclusions. The Z6II, it can definitely photograph and autofocus on small, fast-moving birds. Auto area wide, large is the best. My concern is getting closer to swallows next time. I'm going to have to wait because they've already migrated. And even the most advanced AF system, it doesn't give you the guaranteed results as we saw in that other example. 16,000 images down to 400. So technique, that's really the key. Work on your technique. Then you're going to see success. So there you have it, folks. Autofocus tests are over with birds in flight, and the Z6II is successful. At least I think so.